Hey everyone, my name is Christopher Stone. I'm the Director of Political Operations here at the National Association for Gun Rights. And today, just want to give you a legislative update about a piece of legislation in the House of Representatives. You may have heard about it, H.R. 5717. It's a pretty radical gun control bill. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to all our members and supporters. Everything you do to be involved in the restoration and protection of our Second Amendment rights. It means a lot to us here at the National Association for Gun Rights, and we're proud to fight for your God-given rights. And so today what I want to do is break down this bill, H.R. 5717. You may have heard us refer to it as the gun control apocalypse or other different gun bloggers or people in the gun world. And in the House of Representatives, they've cleverly titled it the Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety Act of 2020. It's pretty normal for members of Congress to either pick funny acronyms or very soft or pleasant sounding names for bills, but I can assure you there's nothing pleasant about this bill when it comes to your God-given right to keep and bear arms. And so we want to break it down. So first of all, the sponsor of this bill is Hank Johnson. He's a Democrat from Georgia. He's a well-known anti-gun advocate in Congress. He's been around for a long time. And his bill was introduced in the House Judiciary Committee, and right now it's in a subcommittee. Now I know that kind of sounds all boring, it sounds like DC insider talk, but the reason that's important is because the chairman, the individual who controls what happens in the House Judiciary Committee, is Jerry Nadler. He's a Democrat from New York, and he was hand appointed by none other than Nancy Pelosi. So if you think about Jerry Nadler, Nancy Pelosi, and Hank Johnson, they all hate your right to keep and bear arms. And so it's up to them as what will happen to this bill. And now right now it's true there's only about 18 co-sponsors on the bill. It's not a lot of people, but Democrats who hate your right to keep and bear arms, especially in the House of Representatives, are in control of what happens. And so they can bring up this legislation at any time they want to. And in fact, you've probably seen our emails about this piece of legislation. And even further, we've been warning you about their attempts to put gun control and all these stimulus packages for the CARES Act that have been going through for the last couple months. And thankfully our lobbying and your activism as a grassroots gun lobbyist has really been effective at stopping gun control. And so I want to just break down just a couple. This bill is very long. You can read it for yourself at congress.gov, but I really just want to break down a couple of the things that it does so you can be informed about why we oppose this bill, why you should oppose this bill, and the actions you can take to protect our Second Amendment rights. All right, so the first thing that this bill does is it creates national firearm and ammunition licensing schemes with mandatory training. So right out the gate, it's a complete violation of our Second Amendment rights that says you would have to get a license from the United States government just to even own a gun or purchase ammunition. Then it goes on and it passes quote unquote universal background checks, which we know are nothing more than universal gun registration. And remember, it was actually Jerry Nadler's committee this time last year that passed H.R. 8, which was a universal gun registration bill. So they've already passed in the House of Representatives some of the things in this massive omnibus gun control bill. And they're not even shy about the fact that it is really gun registration because they even talk about database provisions in the bill. The other thing it does is it would raise the minimum age to buy a firearm to 21 years old and include a 7-day waiting period to buy a gun. So not only would we deny 18-year-old adults or a single mom who's 20 years old and wants to defend herself and her kids, it would also say now you have to wait a week to be able to even get that firearm. And as we like to say, a right delayed is a right denied. It goes on even further and it creates mandatory storage laws that you have to lock up your guns in certain ways, and if you're found not to comply with the law, it's a $500 fine. On top of that, it passes extreme risk protection orders, which is a completely bogus name. All that is a code word for is red flag gun confiscation. And so we obviously have been talking about this for a long time. If you're a member and you get our mail, you get our emails, you see our Facebook posts, that is completely bad news. That allows for neighbors, disgruntled roommates or family members to call the cops on you and have the police come and take your firearms away without any due process, without any presumption of innocence whatsoever. So that's complete violation of your Second Amendment rights. It goes on further and takes basically every weapon they've always included in a so-called assault weapons ban and then rolls it into this bill. It goes further. It bans silencers, which, again, as an organization, we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to completely deregulate silencers and remove them from the National Firearms Act. It does things like ban the multiple sale of firearms. So let's say you go to your local gun store and you want to buy a handgun, but they have a great deal on a shotgun or maybe a great deal on a rifle, or maybe you want to get multiple guns of the same kind. Nope, out of the picture now under this piece of legislation. Furthermore, it has enhanced record keeping on gun registration, government funding for gun control research. They like to say, gun violence research, but again, that's just code word for we want to take your tax dollars and use it to push an agenda to pass even more gun control. And then finally, it levies an expansion on the Gun-Free School Zones Act, which again, as an organization, we lobby in opposition to that. In fact, we support H.R.5717, which is Representative Thomas Massey's bill to eliminate the Gun-Free School Zones Act. So these are just a couple of the radical gun control items inside this package. So the question is, what can you do? Well, I've been working in the Second Amendment community for a long time, coming up on about 13 years now, off and on. I started when I was in high school, and I can tell you that when we're on Capitol Hill lobbying and we deliver your petitions, or we go to an office and they get one of your phone calls, or we look at a staff member and they say, yeah, our inbox is full of these emails from people in our district and opposing this gun control bill, it matters, it works. They go and tell the member of Congress that while we're there to lobby them in opposition to gun control. The grassroots activists, you make defeating gun control possible. You make passing pro-gun legislation possible. So we thank you for your support. So if you want to get involved, again, you can visit our website at nationalgunrights.org. You can check us out on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. And get involved in the fight. I know sometimes it can think, I can't do anything. I'm just one person. But you have a powerful voice in the battle to defeat gun control and restore our Second Amendment rights. Thank you so much for your support, and we look forward to updating you in the future.